say, okay, I have a lot of money, but you have no money unless you take profits.
When the first ever spot ETF was created for gold 10x.
And the only thing I really knew was Bitcoin at the time, so I just invested very heavily into that. Rode it all the way up.
What's up?
My name is Jeff. Even the creators have said it's going to be the predecessor of CBDC.
What that taught me was that I need to be self-sufficient.
A solid DCA investment strategy, and pretend the red sell button doesn't even exist.
We about to go up like.
Ladies and gentlemen and degens of all ages, welcome to tonight's show. I am joined by the usual gang, and we are tonight talking about ETFs, our favorite topic, talking about new construction housing, and then we even have a video from Larry Fink, the CEO of BLACKROCK, who says some very interesting things that may or may not be what we've been saying all along. Anyways, I'm your host for tonight. I am Zenith. You can catch me at Hex Space Force, but we are here at the DGen Roundtable, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jay. Jay, how we doing, buddy?
Yo, what's up, brother? I am doing fantastic, man. You know how it is. Just same shit, different fucking day. Working as much as I possibly can to throw as much capital into the market as I could. We made some pretty good moves yesterday because of what's been going on with the RH ecosystem. I'm sure a lot of the folks in our chat and our Telegram are well aware of that because we did a surprise stream yesterday just to kind of get everybody up to speed over what was going on, potential moves that they're going to potentially be able to make over the course of the next week or so, depending on how the move plays out. But hey, that's why you got to get in Telegram, man, because you're going to get stuff in the Telegram like the surprise video chats that you're not going to get anywhere else, right? We appreciate that you're watching us here on YouTube, but if you want alpha as soon as things hit the fan, then you got to get in that Telegram chat, man. But I've been good. You know, like I said, same shit, different day. I actually just got done taking care of a customer before we started. So thank you. I'm going to say thank you to that customer later because they're giving me more capital to throw at some Ethereum and some Hex and, you know, some other cool stuff. So, but yeah, man, I'm doing good. How's everybody else on the panel, man? Brendan, how you doing, buddy?
Hotkey. Got him.
Muted. You're still muted, Brendan.
Damn it.
There you go.
I had such a good joke, and I failed. Jay, I was going to say, I hope that you took care of her well, your customer, I mean. But I'm doing well. So the Patriots actually beat the Bills today, which is unheard of because the Patriots suck. Apparently the Bills are not as good as they used to be. I will say that yesterday was an incredible day. Watching Hex pump, watching the Richard Heart ecosystem pump, in a bear market when nothing is doing much. Yeah, Bitcoin's around 30. Like that's nice. But you know, when I trade all of my PHEX to EHEX at like 220, 250, like 1 to 220, 1 to 250, and then yesterday it's now 1 to 110. It was one of the best days I've had in crypto in the past year. I mean, it was brilliant. And I just can't wipe the smile off my face because not only that, but yesterday morning I put a few dollars into EHEX. I'm saying this looks like it's gonna ride, and it rode. And I just, you know, end of the night, put it back into USDC, and feeling really nice. This was just a very, very small feeling of what the next bull market is gonna feel like. So pack your bags, get them ready, strap them on, and get ready for the rocket, baby.
Absolutely. We're all Hexicans through and through here, so this has been a absolutely banger of a week. Right now, Hex is sitting just under a penny at like 0.92 of a cent. So other than that, this is exciting. We might even have some Richard Heart news in the near future. Nothing official yet, but it's possible that there might be some movement with the SEC case. As far as that goes, we got the rest of the panel to get to. Nate, brother, how you doing?
Oh, very sad. Packers, again, second game-winning drive. They're going down, and then interception to lose the game. Oh, and then we got the Vikings on Monday night going against arguably the best NFL team. So looking forward to it. Oh, well. The Ravens are doing well. Now, they were my best friend today. They beat the crap out of Lions. So Alrighty, well, yeah, no, we're doing. I'm doing fine over here. Quite frankly, I saw this thing. It's those bubbles or whatever. I don't use those personally, but somebody was posting a picture of it, right? And all I was seeing was like the biggest bubbles, or the biggest gainers, and it's just like Hex, Pulse, And I was like, yay, people know us now. But the thing that I found interesting was this is a good way to think about the future when we start getting to that bull market, right? Like it starts really taking off. It's gonna be feeling like this, and it's gonna be nice. And those those bubbles are just gonna be screaming at people. Hey, maybe you should check out this Hex thing. I'm enjoying it, man. I'm enjoying it.
Absolutely. Speaking of the Ravens, we got a big fan here as well. Josh, how you doing, man?
What's up? What's up? Yeah, I didn't just get finished taking care of a client like Jay did, but I did pull.
Hey, first one's free, man. First one's free.
I did pull an 8-hour shift out at M&T Bank Stadium today. Got down there at 8 o'clock this morning. Clocked in, started throwing back some whiskey, started throwing back some beer, and then around that halfway point went into the stadium, and then closed it out around 4 or 5 o'clock after the game in the tailgate lot. So it's definitely a pretty good day.
Doesn't look like you've stopped.
No, of course not. Of course not, man. It's a good day. It's definitely fun. Had a good weekend, man. Took my daughter. Question for you guys. So my daughter's 7, and I took her to one of those haunted hay rides. Is there do you guys think there's a certain age where you shouldn't do that? Because my daughter was like, Daddy, I really want to go. Daddy, I really want to go. And I was like, kiddo, you say you want to go, we're going to go. Like, don't just tell me that. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it. And of course it scared her to death, but ultimately she handled it like a champ. But yeah, what age do you guys think is the right age to start taking kids to those haunted hay rides and stuff like that?
Well, personally, I think it's a good age, because they're starting to kind of understand, the world around them, right? And now it's something really scary, and who's there to protect her but Dad, right? So I think it's a good thing. Good age.
I agree.
I like it. Will, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, fellas. I've just been fucking working crazy scheduling over here in St. Louis. We just finished up doing some stuff for Channel 4 KMOV. So for those of you in the Missouri area who watch your Channel 4, we just finished fixing up your guys' transmitter tower and things. For everyone else, though, I've just been working nights and doing some like weird, crazy scheduling over the past week or stuff. I tried to hop on that Whiskey Wednesday stream, but it was just too hectic being up in the tower and also trying to answer questions and talk to my coworkers and stuff. So I'm just chilling, man, enjoying this EHEX run. And to answer your question, Josh, I think that the appropriate age for children to go on hay rides is the same as the appropriate age for children to be working in the coal mines, which is 5 years old. So get them introduced to real life. Let them know that real life is not fair. It's not fun. You have to earn your keep. And yeah, get them started early. So good.
Look, there's a reason that Minecraft is the #1 game with the youth these days. Clearly, the children yearn for the mines.
Yo, so there's something like, so I know that you're joking about that, but Minecraft is actually a fantastic teaching mechanism for children to like show them how to create systems to get goals accomplished, and to essentially make like money printers. Like Nate likes making money printers to make money out of nothing while he's off and away. Like if you want to be in Minecraft and you want to go and chop down all the trees and you want to go and mine all the mines, and you want to go like farm all the wheat and you want to do it all yourself, then it's going to take forever. Or you can build a system. You could set up like an automated, like you can teach kids basically basic circuitry, building systems, building farms, building factories, building like things that generate stuff out of nowhere. And it's a great like life principle and teaching tool. So shout out to Minecraft. Big shout. I love Minecraft.
Yeah, that was really cool. Actually, when I was playing it, Zenith, I think you play Minecraft as well, but that was the funnest thing about it, because you're able to literally make like electrical systems that makes one thing do another thing that ultimately, you can create like a farm or whatever, or tools and stuff. It's really cool. I do like it.
Yes, people have made like full Turing computers. Like you can build music systems. You can do all sorts of crazy stuff in Minecraft, man. It is phenomenal. It's not just like a place to go and like spend and waste your life. I mean, it is, but it's also like it's a tool that can be used for learning very valuable life lessons and things. So big shout out to Minecraft. Good job with Notch. Good job making that, buddy. So I appreciate
All
it.
right. Minecraft, sponsor us, man.
That'd be a hell of a sponsor. But yeah, you're not wrong. Minecraft in itself is basically like its own operating system. So as long as you apply basic logic, you can do wild stuff. And additionally, if you do ever get bored with that stuff and you want to make your own mod pack, it is programmed in Java, which is an excellent language to learn. It's somewhat intuitive. My old man self has tried my hand at it, and I can do some stuff, but I'm not too fancy yet. Anyways, I think we are ready to get to it. So unless we have any last minute topics from the boys, actually, I have something. We're going to go and check out the live subs. So we got Moonpilled Rational Optics. First one in here says, hello, DGens. Be sure to like, share, and comment in the chat. Everyone is doing that for sure. We got Brother64 in here saying we got a popcorn and a rocket. Yes, when the bull market like officially kicks off, we are all just going to be sitting back and eating popcorn. Remember how you've been feeling in this last week? Imagine feeling that for an entire year or year and a half. I'm looking forward to it.
Hell.
Other than that, we got Bradley Langan in here as well, talking about the pump. Good stuff. And
we got Niles Jenkins in there. Hell yeah.
Yeah, Niles is in here too.
Shout out to the Ascending Man, Niles. Man, all sorts of people. This Will Stevenson dude, he sounds like a pretty cool guy.
I think he's all right.
Oh, hold
all
up,
right,
man.
With that said,
Bradley said Minecraft is boring. I guess he's off the team.
That's fine. You're Bradley. You're allowed to like things that I don't like, man. I like
also
music and like broccoli.
I also think it's boring. Like, what are we going to put a fucking block on top of a block on top of a block? Literally, come on. I could do much better things with my time. Now, that being said,
mining Bitcoin.
Shout out Tetris, man. Block on top of block.
Seriously, like
I'll beat
9.5 B in Tetris, but take this Minecraft and go do your Gen Z shit.
Hey, you're allowed to like different things, Brendan. Just so you know, your understanding of the way that the game works is an oversimplification.
True,
but it's all right.
You can also break the blocks again and then rebuild them. That's also possible.
That's true. You can do those things.
Hey, Brendan.
All right, gentlemen.
Brendan, where's your closet go? My bad, Zenith.
You're good.
Brendan, where'd the closet go?
Yeah, so yesterday when EHEX pumped, I made so much money that I just actually bought a new house. Brand new. Just bought it.
You gotta get a closet in there, man. We need that closet.
In the bear market, I'm living the fucking dream.
True.
Is this a
all right.
Wednesday? Sorry, Zenith. Go ahead.
It might as well be. We're going. We gotta. The show must go on. All right.
You have to highlight just real quick. You need to highlight Niles' comment there. That's so funny, bro.
I mean, that's what this role is for. Somebody's got to do it. Tonight, it's me. Lord knows that I was the one that needed to be corralled in on Wednesday's stream, so time to pay my dues.
Yeah, but
all right.
So red and cute on Wednesday.
Well, thank you. I was just so shocked of getting punked by the team effectively. It was a good time, I will say that much. All right. Last few shout-outs before we get to the articles. I swear. First off, No Money Mike. What's going on, brother? Good to see you again. Glad you had a chance to jump in on the our impromptu live stream where Jay was dropping knowledge in the Telegram. We got Niall. Cassie's in here as well. Hello, Cassie. And then we also have Cat's Kitchen. Good to see everybody. So, first article, let's do this. The next wave is coming. Bitcoin breaks 30K as we're poised to have $15.6 trillion of Wall Street flood that could potentially dwarf the last crypto run for Ethereum, XRP price. All that stuff is revealed. So this article is basically talking about Wall Street is getting ready to unload as much capital as they possibly can. One thing they were talking about in the past is that when we did the Bitcoin run from $10,000 to $60,000, the Grayscale Bitcoin total volume was about $5.5 billion. They're already looking to see that there's upwards of $150 billion that are ready to get pumped into a similar thing again. So if we did $5.5 billion from 10 to 60, what is 150 billion going to do from where we're at now, which is right at that crisp 30K number? Gentlemen, what we got?
You know, to be quite honest with you, I think what happened last Monday was a pretty good example. Well, it really showed people just how much water was building up behind the dam. Because if the price of Bitcoin pumped by about, it was a little bit over 6% on the heels of news, of fake news, like the thing that came out of CoinDesk about the approval of the Bitcoin spot ETF, I think that just shows exactly how much potential energy is building up behind that dam, and how much people are really, really, really poised to dump into the market as soon as that announcement is made. Because even if 1% of the combined total assets from all of these really large hedge funds and asset managers come into the market, we're going to get a pretty damn good bull run. And I know, look, the total combined wealth of all of these different asset managers is probably like what? Somewhere north of like 40 trillion, or maybe around 50 trillion. And I know 1% might not sound like much, but here's the thing, right? You also have to consider the fact that you have a lot of people who, once they see all of these traditional financial institutions jump headfirst into the market, even if it's 1%, remember, 1% to them is a big deal. And once people see that, they're going to get this kind of, they're going to get some kind of like sense of security. And so they're going to be a lot more willing to enter the cryptocurrency space, as opposed to before, where, okay, you know what, there's a lot of regulatory uncertainty. The SEC is coming after these guys. There's no big institutions that are really dipping their toes into the water. And so I'm going to back off a little bit. But once they see all of these different people that they're used to, right? It's kind of like follow the leader. Once they see these people finally say, hey, look, I think, like, look, we're going to go over a video today where Larry Fink talks about how Bitcoin is sound money and it's like the, you know, the money of the future, et cetera, et cetera. When you hear somebody who's well respected within his space speak about Bitcoin the way that he's speaking about it, look at what JP Morgan's doing with Bitcoin, right? Even though Jamie Dimon isn't really about it, right? JP Morgan as a company is pretty open about their investments into blockchain technology, at least, right? Once all of these different people, right, the folks who exist in the middle of the bell curve who are a little bit more hesitant, that 1% is going to turn into something greater, because you might only get 1% allocation from these big asset managers and other financial institutions, but then you have to consider all of the other money that's going to come in from everybody else, right? So, I mean, I think what happened this past Monday, I know some folks are pretty disappointed that it wasn't true, right? It was fake news coming from CoinDesk. Man, if we have some time today, I would really like to, go over the video, because a representative from CoinDesk actually came out with a statement, and man, you would not believe what this person had to say. They were blaming people. They were blaming us for being like, everybody's super excited about the ETFs and they're trying to price it in, trying to front run the market. That's not our fault. It's their fault. It was just ridiculous. But you know, that's for a different time. But yeah, man, it just really showed exactly how much potential energy is building behind the dam, ready to jump into this market once those ETFs do get approved. And at the latest, January 10th, man, I think by January 10th, I think, you know, there's a good possibility that Grayscale and Cathie Woods, they're going to be the first ones approved. Maybe even earlier. Who knows? Some people are thinking that it's going to be approved a little bit earlier, right? Sometime later during this year, you know, so we wouldn't have to wait until January for the first approval. But yeah, man, I think people are waiting with their hands on the trigger, because once that dam is broken, man, watch out. So,
Jay, you make a really good point. I mean, think about that: $40 to $50 trillion just in the top 10 asset management firms in the United States. We are only talking about the United States. By the way, China, they don't invest through asset management firms. They generally invest through individual investing. So when we talk in the United States about, you know, sort of, you know, the regular investor, that's normal for China. They have a lot of money to pump into the market. So the United States, 40 to 50 trillion, you know, everyone gets their Bitcoin spot ETF. starts pumping this market. And you're right. Like, look at all of the news that's happened around crypto in the last several months. Has any of it had been bad? There's been some FUD, but no real news has been bad. The SEC has taken loss after loss after loss. Ripple. Okay, Ripple. The most, if you were to ask me, of all the crypto in this space, what are some of the cryptos that might be considered a security?
Fucking XRP.
Ripple. Like, if Ripple's not a security, there is nothing in this entire system that can be considered a security. And so for the SEC to take a loss that bad and understand absolutely nothing about the assets that they're actually taking to court means that they literally don't have any pulse on the trigger of what is going on in the market. And not only is that bullish, so this moves up. Ethereum spot ETF hits next. I mean, we've talked about some of this perfect storm theory in crypto, and a lot of it is already starting to show its true colors. So maybe we hit this perfect storm theory, this bull run, and we just blow off the top like we've never seen before. Maybe it's the next bull run, but we are moving in a direction that is unprecedented in this asset class. And this is the only asset class, in my opinion, not financial advice, that you have an opportunity to create generational wealth. I'm not saying $1 million or $2 million. I'm taking money that's going to change generations after you. That is the possibility that you have in this asset class. And what we see with Bitcoin, the spot ETFs, people saying, I don't trust the dollar, I don't trust the government, putting money into this. Not only is it the money, but it's technology. Sure, everyone says, oh, it's technology, but it's true. Like, what was the internet? Nothing, except a new technology that could build things that you could never build before. Right now, crypto's very similar. You can now build things that you could never build before, but in a decentralized way, right? So no one controls it, and therefore there isn't people on the left and the right, neither of whom I trust, for the record, able to control this decentralized finance. And look, they continue to try. They continue to try to take it under their wing, but what keeps happening? They keep breaking out. Why is that? Because you can't control the people, man. The people will speak, and the people have spoken. Pack your bags.
Hey, speaking of Ripple, did you guys hear about that? It was pretty big news a few days ago. Apparently, the SEC has dropped the lawsuit against, I believe it was both against Garlinghouse and Chris Larson. These guys are like So the SEC, I think the nature of the case was they were accusing both of them for like stealing customer funds on some like offshore accounts, and that lawsuit has been dropped too. So like Brendan was alluding to earlier, the SEC, if you notice when Gary Gensler is now talking about crypto, he's a bit softer on his language, right? He's not so gung-ho about it anymore. And that's probably because of what, like Brendan alluded to earlier, that they're just taking L's left and right. And this is just another point on the scoreboard for crypto against the SEC, because the lawsuit against both of those guys have been dropped, right? And those are some pretty damn big allegations. And if you can imagine, right, I think this is why a lot of people were really hyped about the whole lawsuit against RH being dropped, right, quote unquote, because that was kind of just like that was a little bit of satire. But it's not such a reach to assume that if the allegations against the two top dogs in Ripple have been dropped, right, that they're most likely going to be dropped against Richard, because unlike the case against Ripple, right, where there was some case against them, right, they did get charged in the portion of selling unregistered securities when it came to the institutional selling, right? So they took an L on that one, but they actually had a case against Ripple in this regard, right? Against Richard Hart and Hex and the whole ecosystem as a whole. It's like, bro, it's they've got nothing. So it wouldn't be so like it wouldn't be such a big assumption to make that if the lawsuits were dropped against Garlinghouse and against Larson, that the one against RH is probably also going to get dropped.
Yeah, Gary Gensler has been famously said to be ruling the FCC by trying to win court cases, but he has failed to do a lot of that so far. So we're seeing that, yeah, with the XRP thing getting dropped against those two founders specifically after their XRP win in court previously, it's not looking good for Gary and the SEC over there and the way that they're currently doing business. So I will also say, if these people actually know who Richard Hart is, they will not want to put him in front of an open mic on live TV and just let him clown all over them, because in my opinion, there's a very high likelihood it could happen. With that said, though, I do have a question. In regards to this pump from the last week, we saw that there was the fake news that spiked us way high up, but then it dropped us back down. So my question, I want to ask Will this. Will, do you think that the market has factored in already the news of the ETFs, or do you think that it's still going to make things react a lot?
I think that the market has, I think that the people who know about the ETFs have factored it in. And then there's probably a significant portion of the like crypto sideline community that is like, oh, I know what Bitcoin is and I have it, but they don't follow any news events. They've probably not factored it in. As far as like the people who are paying attention to things, yeah, they probably factored it in. Pretty milquetoast answer, pretty fence sitter answer, but that's my take, is that there's probably a lot of people that own crypto that like might have sizable bags, they might have insignificant bags, they might be retail, they might be institutional. But I think that the people who know about it have factored it into their plays, and they're probably, I don't know what really inspires people to make the decisions whether they're going to buy, hold, sell, or whatever, because everyone's different. But I would say yes and no to your question.
That's fair, but more specifically, do you think it's been factored into the price? Because we're looking at 30K Bitcoin right now. Earlier, not even like 3 months ago, we were jumping around that 32 range, just under it, hitting that massive level of resistance. So with the fake news showing that there is interest, but then dropping back down, and now we've already creeped back up to 30K, do you think that the price has already taken this into account? Or do you think when we start getting the announcement of ETFs, that's when it's really just going to kick it up?
I think that you might be asking a peanut brain diamond hand a way too technical and complicated question.
Fair enough, brother.
I know that like things happen that I never expect, and so I try not to think about things too much. So I'm gonna say yes and no, and also maybe.
Hey, Zenith, can I take this one a little bit?
Absolutely, jump in here, brother.
Yeah. So I think to a significant degree, the ETFs have already been factored in. One, because like you mentioned, on the fake news, I think it wouldn't be an unreasonable assumption to make that people were expecting the price to drop back down to around where it was before we got hold of the news, right? And I think that was around $26,000 and some change. However, that didn't happen, right? We got close to 30,000. We dropped back down. We were hovering around 28K for a few days, and then now we're retesting that 30K level once again, and we're hovering just actually, let me check the chart. Yeah, we closed yesterday another green daily candle, so another higher daily close on yesterday's candle, right? And so we're hanging around that $30,000 area. And I think that's precisely because people believe that the ETFs have such a high likelihood of being approved probably this year, if not for sure early next year, just before the halving, like I mentioned earlier, sometime around like January 10th, if not earlier. And I say January 10th because that's when Cathie Woods and ARK Shares have their approval date, right? Because they're kind of front running everybody else, so that's why I'm zooming in on that specific date, because they're first in line. But yeah, I think people to a degree have this already priced in, because if they didn't, I think on the heels of the fake news, I think we would have dropped back down. I think if people weren't already baking that into the cake, that could have been the catalyst to drop us below 26 and back down to 25,000 again, right? But that combined with the fact that Gary has been lukewarm with his statements around crypto recently, I think people they're getting a lot more confidence, man. They're getting a lot more confidence, and I think they don't want to risk being outside of the market, because I think people are understanding that the likelihood of us going back down to 20,000 is now much more unlikely, especially because I think a lot of you guys know that during the FOMC meeting, the overwhelming majority of the market are thinking that Powell is going to hold the rates, which is, obviously we want them lower, but if he's not going to increase it because of what's going on with in the Middle East, then that's at the very least not a headwind on the market, right? So to answer your question, I think yes, to a significant degree, I think a lot of the market has already baked that into the price, which is why we weren't pushed back down below 26K, potentially to 25,000.
I disagree.
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, no, I completely disagree with you, Jay. I think that I don't think the price was baked in at all, and I think that the price increase that we saw, there was at least a decent amount of folks who thought the news was real, and then as the news began to come out that it wasn't real, I think that's when you began to see it start to slow down a little bit. I also think that, hey, we're still in the lower quadrant of a bull market right now. Obviously we're not at the bottom of the bear market anymore, like we were in November of 2022. But we're still down there. We're still only a 2x up, you know what I'm saying? And all the altcoins, which we've already talked about, are down right now. I don't think we have enough pump, and I think that I feel like the pump that we're seeing here now, I feel like it could just as easily just drop back down to the $28,000, $27,000, $26,000 range. I don't feel like the price has been baked in. I think that it was some adrenaline hit and people started to buy in. And then I think that as the news started to roll out that, it really wasn't the case. Like I said, I don't want to, keep repeating what I already said, but that's what my line of thinking is.
Well, let me kind of weigh in on this, right? So on both your sides, here's what I'm looking at. In the crypto space, we still don't really have any new liquidity, right? It's all the same stuff. We're just kind of moving the liquidity around.
There's not much. There's not much because the Bitcoin pump went up to 30K, which is the support area like in around July this year. And if you notice, the total market cap is still around 1.2 trillion, which is where we were. And so you're like, there is no new liquidity, right? It's just the only reason we're pumping is because people are going from altcoins, most likely, or stables back into Bitcoin. So there's no new liquidity.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So for a little while now, I've been saying it's kind of like a slingshot, right? It's being pulled back like this and it's ready to, right? However, you got the institutions that are pulling this back and it's like holding it here, waiting to actually release. So because of that, and I think people are kind of catching on to this, all the liquidity that is still in crypto space right now, I think people are kind of caught on to that. So they're waiting. They're waiting for the institutions to say, okay, now it's time to go. And then they can open the floodgates, right? However, obviously, the way that a lot of these crypto users work is that they want to be sure it's safe, right? Risk management before they put their money in. Well, when's the safest time to guarantee that these institutions are, saying it's okay, we're going to let them go now? Well, it's going to be when they release those ETFs, right? And so now what you're looking at is people waiting until the ETFs are guaranteed, right? And then people are going to front run that before all of grandpa's money comes in and the institutional money comes in, but they want that guarantee first. And so what this proved was simply that people are waiting and they want to throw their money in, but they're waiting on it right now.
That's a valid point for sure. One thing you can say is that when you do wait for that final approval, is that that's actually when those big corporations have skin in the game. So it's kind of like seeing people put their money where their mouth is. Sure, they're talking about it, but until they actually do that, people might just be watching the actions more than they watch the words. With that being said, though, talking about how much money do people have to put into things. We're going to move on to our next article, which is talking about home builder sentiment. So home builders are saying that the demand for new houses is actually starting to decline and has been for a while. And that's specifically because we've been encountering high interest rates, which has been decreasing the amount of sales overall, which is also decreasing the demand for new homes. You also got to keep in mind that when it comes to new home construction, there is about a 9 to 12 month lead time for new homes. So about a year in the past, that's mid 2022. That's kind of when we were at the very top. At that point, you can actually see where U.S. households, specifically for the middle class, peaked when it came to net value, and also talking about savings, which we mentioned on some of the previous streams. We've already crested that. We've gone over where people have had the most money that they've had, and we're actually starting to see declines in it. So I'm going to throw it to the panel. What do you guys think about the decrease in homes? It's just another sentiment showing that Americans are kind of hurting. So do we really even have money to throw into crypto at this time?
Well, I want to put in there as well, groceries, everything. Literally everything is I mean, it's expensive. This is where you get like a recession. This is the thing that I've been kind of looking at, like, okay, so you got the perfect storm theory. There's a lot of things happening, right? And it's all really good for crypto. Let's go ahead and look at, the perfect storm blockers, so to say, right? Well, it's going to be like a recession. It's going to be new liquidity not wanting to get into crypto, because why are you buying crypto when you kind of need to feed yourself first, right? So when I'm thinking about it, I don't think it's going to be enough, because I believe the reason why institutions are trying so hard to really get a foothold in the crypto space now is because people are hurting, and they know that it's going to take years to set this up, right? It always does. So what they're trying to do right now is, now that everybody is scared to go into the crypto space, they're going to set themselves up, create a foundation and all that, create like onboarding platforms and places where normal people are able to get in. And then when people are finally ready to start throwing liquidity in, this is the reason why we don't know if it's going to be this cycle or next cycle that's going to be like the big boom, right? It's going to be one of them. But that's kind of the reason that I'm looking at, is they're setting up just simply, hey, kind of like how a bank would be. They're setting up the foundation to bring new users in.
Brendan, quick question for you real quick. Brendan, about a year or two ago, you were looking to buy a house, weren't you?
Yeah, but that really means nothing to me, because I didn't buy a house. I put it all in crypto because the houses were too expensive. However,
right. Well, what I was going to ask is, I'm sure the price point that if you found a house that met every condition that you wanted for, I'm sure there was a certain price point that you had about 2 years ago, correct? There's a price point that you knew based on what you were earning. Hey, with these interest rates, this is what I could buy, correct?
Yep.
Okay. How much higher is that value now? Or I'm sorry, how much lower is that value now? Given the way interest rates are, how much lower is that price now?
Well, there's two things. So interest rates don't affect all homes as much as you think they do, because the biggest home builders in America, D.R. Horton, which is number one, they're the largest home builder in America, Pulte Group, Toll Brothers, they all own their own banks. So not only are they building homes, but they also are their own lenders. So they can play with the rates. They can play with how much they're going to make, because they're building the home and they're giving you your loan. So if the loan prices are 8%, okay, they take 4% off the price of their house, and they still make a ton of money. So what a lot of builders have done recently, and I'm talking about big track home builders. I'm not talking about custom home builders. I'm not talking about, resellers. I'm talking about new home builders. And yes, not all of them have their own banks, but again, the big boys do. And therefore, these interest rates haven't hurt them as much as you might have thought that they would, because you don't know that they also own the bank that you are lending from. So yes, some banks have preferred lenders, and sometimes those builders' preferred lenders are actually just their sister company. And this is a big thing in track builders and track home builders. And this is why we have not seen as big of a decrease in home building, in my opinion, as we have previously, because they're controlling the entire aspect of their build, money, mortgage, etc. They're loaning themselves money to build a house, to sell it to somebody else, and then have, a mortgage price for them. So they're making money hand over fist. Now, for the regular people, in places where you don't have a lot of new home construction, like Miami, for example, big cities, you're seeing the interest rates hit you very hard because it's 8%. I mean, that's a ton of money. I mean, you look at a 30-year loan, and you put 8% on top of whatever the cost of your home is. It is insane. It's I mean, unless you have a lot of money, it's impossible. So if you had a house pegged for 400,000, as you're talking about, Josh, or 300,000 or 500,000, well, now you add 8% interest on there, and well, maybe you can only afford something in the 250 range or 350 range. Well, in Miami, that 450 house 3 years ago is now 900. So you have zero chance to buy a home. So how else do you make money if that is an investment opportunity that has just passed you by? Well, crypto's still in a pretty low bear market or the start of a bull market. So there are ways to put money into places that can make you money. But when it comes to homes, it is interesting because in 2008, we would have seen a housing crash by now. But because of these big home builders owning their own banks, owning their own investments, they're a lot more self-sufficient, and therefore they don't really bank on the government's help. They don't borrow from the government. They're borrowing from themselves. And so there's a very different dichotomy in the housing market than we've seen in the past.
Yeah. Also, you have to keep in mind, look, the average person out there, listen, once they get used to a certain way of life and then you throw double the interest rate in there, interest rate 2 years ago was, it was minimal. All right. It was super low, and now we have 8% rates. You need to take somebody like, let's take Nate, for example. Okay. Yeah. I'm glad you raised your hand there. Okay. Let's say Nate, wife, kid, they have a certain amount of money. They're looking to save up and, they're looking to buy a house. Well, the same house that they could buy 2 years ago isn't the same house as they can purchase anymore. And that's just because of the interest rates. And, so, you got folks that are looking to get into their first starter home, that's the case. You also have folks that already own property, right? Maybe they're looking to upgrade. Maybe they're looking for that home that they're looking to build now. All right. So they've owned their home, maybe they have kids that are 10 and 12 years old, dad's working, mom might work part-time, taking care of the kids or whatever. They saved up a little bit of money. They can finally afford that, 2,500 to 3,000 square foot house. They can finally build because dad just got a promotion at work or whatever. Now, that capability isn't there anymore. That possibility just isn't there. And that's because of where the interest rates are right now. Interest rates have to come down in order for that to be realistic. And I don't think wages have caught up to where the interest rates are right now. The thing is that I don't think, interest rates can come down, but I don't necessarily know if they're going to be coming back down to where they were prior to COVID. I think that, maybe a 3 to 4% interest rate is probably what the new norm is going to be once the rates start to come down.
Yeah. On excellent credit.
Yeah, on excellent credit. Absolutely. So, to those that are watching, live, to those that are catching this on replay, that's if you have excellent credit. So you got to handle your credit. You got to make sure that you're doing everything and, that you got that, 700-800 coming in from the credit bureaus to even qualify for something like that. But yeah, I mean, that's my thoughts on it. It's just, we're in a period now where, this is expected, these rates are put in place in order to slow the economy, which is designed to bring down the inflation. That's ultimately what it's tied to. It's tied to bringing down that inflation amount. And, Brendan can talk more on that. I know that that's his wheelhouse. But you know what? We're just going to be stuck in this period right now, and it's just, it's going to suck for the time being. But yeah, what people could buy 2 years ago, it's just simply not there anymore. And until incomes come up and they can match that, it's definitely going to be interesting to see where we are a year or two from now, to see if those rates, if they come down, how far they're going to come back down to.
For sure. I
it's
think
reflective
it's
of exactly the type of monetary policy that JP has been going after, right? The decreased demand in new homes and the decreased amount of new home buildings, because people are less willing to spend, right? We speak about how fiscal policy has a lag period behind it, and now we're actually starting to see the effects of the type of monetary tightening that Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve has been doing over the last year and a half. Right now, we're actually starting to see the effects of that in one aspect of the market, right? In new homes and the demand for new homes, and that people really can't afford it, right? Because like Josh was alluding to earlier, if you're somebody who lives on a fixed income, yes, you're thinking, okay, the government is trying to do something about this, but the inflation has significantly eaten into your fixed income, right? And so you're not going to be able to afford a home which has not only gone up anywhere between 1.5 to 2x in price. At the very least, here in sunny Arizona, the average home from before 2020 was about 1.5, 2x less than what they cost now. Right? You factor that into the inflation of not just rent, not just the mortgage, not just the interest rate, but of all necessary goods and services. And you're thinking, well, I wanted to buy a home, but now I can't do that anymore, right? So I think that's certainly reflective of the effects of the monetary policy that Jerome Powell has been affecting over the course of this 1.5 years, right? And until, right, he said we're probably going to stay higher for longer, until we get to a point where he's like, okay, now we're going to bring things down. I think this is exactly the type of behavior that you're going to see from people, right? They're going to want to spend less because they can only spend on essential goods and services, right? So yeah, unfortunately, as it stands, the American dream of a 3-bedroom home, wide picket fence, 2-car garage, that's farther and farther from the reach of most middle-class Americans, right? And I think that's it's also reflective of a lot of people's sentiments that the middle class is being phased out, right?
I mean,
slowly but surely.
I mean, Jay, you're right about that. I mean, there's no doubt, but also it's surprising. It's surprising. Just this month, or I should say last month, the National Association of Realtors has said there's between 5.5, if my memory serves me correctly, 5.5 and 6.5 million units that were lacking for people to live in. So population growth has maybe not increased as much as it has in the past, but it's increased at a higher rate than us building apartments and houses. Therefore, we have a shortage, still currently have a shortage of around 6 million units in the United States. So do you think prices are going to decrease when we have demand for housing, demand for apartments, demand for houses at a historically high number? And again, yeah, Bradley, you said it in your comment, there's a brand new houses going up here in North Carolina. North Carolina is blowing up with home builders. D.R. Horton, other areas are huge in that area because, look, it's a very, very well place that people want to live, and there aren't enough houses to keep the people that want to move there. And so it's a very easy place to build houses. I'm not going to lie, North Carolina seemingly is a great state. I've visited. I haven't spent a lot of time there, but I know from experience and I know from the market that that's a desirable place for people to live. And so we not only are seeing an increase in interest rates, an increase in inflation, but we still need more places for people to live. And this is driving demand, which is why I've talked about for a while that I think we need to raise interest rates more because the job market's still strong, came in twice as high as we expected it to before the job numbers came out. We are still seeing the economy be very strong, increasing consumer spending up, granted less than 1%, but still up. So what we're doing from a Fed point of view, and Jerome Powell keeps saying, we've raised rates the fastest that we ever have in the history of the United States. Well, Jerome, why do you think that is? Because you failed to see the writing on the wall for literally almost a year and didn't raise rates when it was right in front of you. So you had to raise rates at a historical point because you failed so bad in the beginning. And I hate to keep using this word, but transitional. Someone help me out here. Transitory.
Inflation is transitory and not
transitory inflation
or permanent inflation.
Transitory inflation.
So
I could be part of this too.
So he saw the inflation happening. He didn't realize that it was real inflation, and so he just sat on his hands. And of course, now once he realized that he was wrong, very wrong, of course he had to raise interest rates at a historic point because he failed so miserably to begin with. Sorry, tangent.
No,
Well,
good
Brendan,
tangent.
I have a question then off of that, if you don't mind. So, with where I'm at, right, like houses are going up like absolutely mad. I do pest control, right? So I'm constantly going to these houses. So if that's the case, then how are people how are people affording these things? Because most of the houses where I'm at is 250 at minimum, usually right around $500,000 themselves. So, and there are so many people, and granted, Moonpilled here said it, plus the exodus of California, New York City, or less homes available, blah, 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 in desirable areas. That right there, I can tell you one of the main places that people are coming is to Minnesota because I'm getting so many Californians now. But my question is, how are people still able to afford all of this? And if that's the case, right, that, or the second question, my bad, is, how are they able to afford it? I'm losing my second question. So go ahead and answer that first one.
Sure.
Go ahead,
Go
Brendan.
ahead, Jay.
Okay. I think, well, you said it right there, Nate. I think a result of that is you have a mass exodus of people from states like New York, from California, from these states where the housing market is extremely unreasonable. And so they are looking to park their capital elsewhere, because just because it's in the Midwest, that doesn't mean that the value of the home is not going to be great, right? If you're going to be able to afford a mansion in the Midwest somewhere versus in California where you could maybe afford a little shack, it would be intelligent of you to park your capital there because the demand there is probably going to be a little bit higher, right? Then and your capital also has a much higher buying power. You're probably going to be able to be a lot more selective, right? Because you're competing in a market that probably doesn't match your income. So you're going to be able to place bids on those units, right? On those homes that's in a good neighborhood, has good schools, maybe it's being gentrified, maybe there's a lot of urban development going on. And so I think you answered the question yourself right there. I think people coming from all of these states on the outskirts of the U.S. Coming into the Midwest because they know that the housing market there is going to be much more reasonable.
That's fair enough. And then so the second question that I had,
I don't think it's local. I think it's from out of state people going into your local housing market, but they're from out of state.
that is pretty crazy though, because I've come across a lot of Californians, especially. But so then my second question is, so you're saying, Brandon, that you think raising rates should continue for quite a bit more. How about this? How about just a couple more raises, get it to like maybe a solid 6%, right? And then, or basis points, my bad. And then just hold it longer.
I mean, that's their goal.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not saying
raise
it through the roof.
Yeah.
I'm saying that we need to continue to keep inflation under wraps, which they have not been able to do. I mean, sure, they're saying no, yeah, let's still get to 2%, but we're now starting to see a lot of people, and we talked about this months ago, way before anyone had mentioned it. We're starting to see economists, say, hey, Fed, SEC, Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, maybe we just can't get to 2%. So maybe we need to readjust our thinking of what the baseline interest rate needs to be in the United States. Maybe now it's 3%. Maybe it's 3.5%. Maybe we're already there, so let's print more money. I don't think that's a great way of thinking, but people are starting to put those notions out there, and I don't think that it's very positive, because I don't know about you, but I'm not getting a 3% raise every year. The average American's not getting even a 1% raise every year. So if your normalized interest rate is now 3.5%, or sorry, inflation rate is now 3.5%, that is really hurting the average American. Jay was right. Like, a lot of people have money and are moving and are helping their kids, and they're helping get them, self-sufficient by just giving them money, but allowing them to live on their own. And so, yeah, there's a lot of interesting things going on in the market right now that I don't think are sustainable. And as long as the United States has the biggest military, as long as they continue to increase their GDP, yeah, maybe interest rates won't matter. Inflation rates won't matter. But in my mind, in my wallet, in my pocket, in my heart, yeah, it's a problem.
So with that being said, when do you think they're going to pivot then? Do you think we can possibly, they're not going to start dropping rates until maybe summer of next year?
I don't think that long. I think they'll slowly start dropping them prior to that. But
I got a answer for Nate there, Brendan. If you go back a few streams ago, Josh actually went over this. He did a map of the Federal Reserve plan of how long they're going to so this is an estimate of how long they're planning to keep the rates elevated, right? And so I'm pretty sure you could find it a few streams ago, but they actually put out a statement during the last FOMC meeting about the average participant, how long they think they're going to hold the rates elevated for longer. But again, those are estimates, and it could change, right, depending on the current market that we're experiencing. But it should give you some idea if you wanted to look into it.
Jay's completely right. If you're looking for this info particularly, go check out the release from the FOMC meeting last time. Granted, we do actually have an FOMC coming up here in about a week, but you can find this chart in their expanded version of the PDF that they talked about the thing back then. Real quick, shout out to our chat. Our chat is actually on fire tonight. I'm loving this. I do have one that I want to highlight from Colonel Giggles. He says that his only wish in life is to have a home where himself to himself, and he can live modestly. Nothing fancy. It's not easy, and it's damn near impossible. That is a very common sentiment that I think we're seeing across the board right now. This is a complex situation going on with the market, going on with what we're looking at in the crypto world, which is trying to figure out if we're in the bull market or a bear market. Hint, very early bull market. But the state of the world is definitely kind of, it's shaken up right now. And then the U.S. economy is also lots of question marks everywhere between Fed, overall, what even is a recession anymore? Are we in it? Can we even have a soft landing? But a lot of that is nothing new. And honestly, I'm going to use this to transition to our next point, which is that we have the video from Larry Fink. There's a few things that he talks about, is that he's saying that inflation is still running rampant. In his opinion, 3% is a better metric because they're targeting even higher growth, which is going to come with inflation. Talks about how war is inflationary, talking about how reconfiguring all of the world's exported goods and manufacturing away from China into other places like Taiwan, Vietnam, Mexico, India, all that stuff is inflationary. So we're still going to keep fighting it. But one of the biggest takeaways from this video is that he has flipped on his original sentiment of crypto and Bitcoin, because he's now calling all the people moving to crypto as a flight. Gosh, I'm dropping the ball on this one. Is a flight to value or quality. Flight to quality. Thank you. All right, gentlemen, what do you think about the pivot from the CEO of BlackRock himself?
Hey, Zenith, why don't we go ahead and play that video for the folks, for the few of them that missed it?
How about that, instead of listening to me yammer?
Need for crypto. I mean, when you think about, I think some of this rally is way beyond the rumor. I think the rally today is about a flight to quality with all the issues around the Israeli war now, global terrorism. And I think there's more people running into a flight to quality, whether that is in treasuries, gold, or crypto, depending on how you think about it. And I believe crypto will play that type of role as a flight to quality.
Beautiful. There you go, folks. Words from the horse's mouth himself. Gentlemen, what do we think about the pivot for a flight to quality for crypto now?
Man, dude, with BlackRock talking about this, it's all going to fucking zero, bro. This is done. It's over. All right, boys, bottom time. I hope that you have your diamond hands ready, because it's all downhill from here. Once Larry Fink starts talking about crypto, that's when they start unloading their bags. I don't know. That's my holy shit. This is an interesting moment, because we're still in like the beginning of a bull, right? So we haven't gone full underway. We're not full steam ahead quite yet. There's no momentum. There's no buildup. There's no like super fun, crazy enthusiasm, euphoria. None of that stuff. This is the bug eater guys. They're saying like, hey, we eat bugs. You're gonna own nothing. You're gonna be happy. And also, there's this crypto stuff, and everyone seems to be going to it. So my inner skeptic, my nihilist is screaming at me like, man, fuck. That's my take on it. Once, like, when you see BlackRock and when you see Vanguard, State Street, all these big investment firms talking about this cool new thing that the Wild West cowboys are using to, buy guns and drugs on Silk Road and wreak havoc on the internet and send money to Hamas and all that stuff. Like, once the institution starts adopting it, then it's like, man, the momentum is dying. That's my personal thoughts, my personal take. Somebody counter me.
Well, I think you're correct about that, but also I love the way you put it. By the way, did everybody know that Larry Fink was hired on as the chief marketer for Bitcoin?
Wait, what?
Fake news, Nate.
Are you being funny? You're being funny.
No. That was a headline that people. It was during his first Fox News interview, and because he was so bullish on Bitcoin, the headlines were. Yeah, he's now the spokesperson for Bitcoin. Shout out Michael Saylor, sad boy. He was forgotten so quickly.
Yeah, he's fighting with Michael Saylor for that title now.
It turns out that Larry Fink is actually Satoshi this entire time, not Hunter Biden. Sorry, guys.
Unfortunate. Sorry, Hunter. We figured it out. But in my opinion, I think this is a big moment. And if anything, it's just more dominoes that just keep falling in the same direction. We now have all the ETFs coming out, and the guy that's in charge of one of the biggest venture capital firms in the world is also saying, yeah, this is a flight to quality. People making this move is a good thing. I will say, though, I do like some of his other points where he's talking about with unrest in the world. Again, this is just even more use cases for Bitcoin, which is when you need to get out of the country, all in cash or gold bars is hard to do, but Bitcoin, pay the gas fee and you're good to go.
There's something to be said about that for real. There's Bitcoin ATMs everywhere. There are, like, you could throw a little USB essentially, or a piece of paper with 12 words written on it. You can throw that shit into your carry-on. Like, isn't it strange that like airports are required to, alert like the police or alert the government mobsters, whoever they might be, right? Like, oh, this person's carrying $10,000 undeclared or more. But it's like, if I can have a piece of paper with me and they don't know what it is, right? They're not allowed to just look at pieces of paper that I have. And it could hold hundreds of thousands of dollars. It could hold millions of dollars, right? Just with the seed phrase that's on it, right? We don't need cash anymore. If we're gonna escape a country, we can load it all up onto like a little Trezor or a Ledger. I wouldn't recommend Ledger personally. Shout out to Ledger folks. Sorry, you guys suck, in my personal opinion. But like, you could load up all of your assets, all of your value onto a little wallet. You could get out of the country, go get an internet signal somewhere, and then you can unload all your wealth and you can go live happily ever after in Sibylle, Georgia, or El Salvador or Portugal or wherever the hell, Singapore. Tons of places that are crypto friendly.
Yeah, man, I think you're absolutely right. Moonpill Rational Optics says here, DC your money into beans, bullets, band-aids, and Bitcoin. Now, my friend, I think you and there's somebody who also likes to quote that quite oftenly. I don't know about the beans part. Maybe
this guy was in the military.
Guy. Yeah, maybe he's more of a rice guy because
Moonpill Optics. Shout out to you, buddy. Beans, bullets, batteries, band-aids. Those are the 4 B's of logistics. I was in 04 in the Marine Corps, so I'm willing to bet that you were some sort of military person. So good shit, bro.
Invest in
I
me.
will-
Invest in Anonymous Bean.
Now I was saying because that sounds a lot like what Kiyosaki says, and he was also in the military. So the fact that that you said it's like a tenet in the military, the 4 Bs, that actually makes sense.
Yeah, I believe.
But yeah, man,
Kiyosaki was in the Marine Corps.
it makes a lot of sense, bro. Because why does Richard Hart, why when he created Pulse Chain, he said this is freedom of speech? When he created Pulse X, it's freedom of movement? Because that's what crypto represents, right? Like Will said, if you needed to get up and go, right, because things are going left wherever you are and you need to move, you can't carry much with you, right? You got the clothes in your back and maybe a few personal belongings, and that's it. What you could do is you don't even need your hardware wallet, right? You just need your seed phrase, because you could burn everything to the ground and leave everything behind, go to a different place, and then just get yourself a new treasure there or a MetaMask, and then you got your seed phrase, and there you go. You don't even have to take the physical thing, right? That's the beauty of Bitcoin, right? And it's only the supply it's only going to get much more scarce, right? The Bitcoin halving is going to be sometime in the first quarter to early second quarter of next year, right? Which means that for those of you who don't know what that means, the amount of rewards that the miners get when they mine a block on the chain gets cut in half. And so the total supply is effectively being cut in half, right? Because the inflation is being cut in half for Bitcoin, right? And at some point, the last Bitcoin is going to be mined. And so that's a finite supply, right? And I think it's been pretty obvious over the last 4 years or so that the demand for cryptocurrency as a whole is only getting higher, right? It would be different if it was a finite supply of something that nobody wanted, right? I think that'd be a different story there, right? There might be a finite supply of like colorful stones or whatever, but if nobody's using that for currency, nobody's really going to give a crap, right? But for this, you have countries like El Salvador, like Argentina. Now you've got the EU with their regulatory clarity in terms of crypto laws, right? And now you have these big asset managers over here in the West making a push, like Larry Fink says, right? It's a flight to quality, a flight to safety, and so you've got now people that actually, more people pay attention to, right, than just people that are already in the space, like Michael Saylor, right? Now you have eyes on those guys as well. And so not only do you have something that has a finite supply, right, but people actually have a demand for it, right? And that's the key here, right? You have a finite supply that has high demand. And so is it unreasonable? I know people like to do the moon math, and I know some people like for example, Arthur Hayes was talking about something like $200,000 Bitcoin by the end of either this year or next year or something along those lines. It's not unreasonable, right? I know some people think, oh, that's way too much, right? Bitcoin is already at the top of his S curve, but there's a lot of people still could potentially go in, right? And so I think it's certainly possible, right? So pack your bags and make sure that you're in the best performing asset class of all time, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or your favorite altcoin. Just have some skin in the game, because you don't want to be left behind. I think if there's anything that this discussion has elucidated for everybody is that, right, I said earlier, the middle class is slowly but surely being phased out. That means you need to do something in order to put yourself in the capital class, right? Because
Absolutely.
Right? Because it's going to be the new normal, right? Sooner or later, people are going to say, yeah, the middle class doesn't exist. This is our new normal. It's no longer owning your very own three bedroom, two bathroom house with a 2-car garage and a white picket fence. Now it's just renting a reasonably priced apartment is going to be the American dream. So
does anyone think
happen slowly but surely? So
does anyone think Larry Fink is wrong?
About what? About the flight to quality?
Oh, definitely
Correct.
not.
No, I think Larry Fink is dead on. This is something that we've been saying for a while. And if you listen to Michael Saylor, the original Bitcoin spokesperson, he's been saying this for a long time. Even in his classic rant where he tells people to sell everything they have and invest in the hardest money on earth in Bitcoin. Yeah, it's that. Bitcoin and crypto at large, when done properly, is fixed fiat money. You no longer rely on governments to print things, and you have the ability to move it anywhere in the world virtually instantaneously. And you have everyone that's involved in that entire blockchain working to ensure that it's encrypted and protected. So you don't have to rely on people. Everybody is working towards the same goal of protecting itself, and it can go anywhere, anytime, and you don't have to wait and operate during business hours to get your money in or out. So yeah, it's fixed money. This is quality. Although keep in mind, this is common saying in the world, which is that 99% of cryptocurrencies are shitcoins and going to zero. So you got to find the ones that are actually worth a damn. In this case, I'd argue Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I'd say Hex, because Hex is one of the first original DeFi products out there. It's just the CD from your bank on a blockchain. So that's my 2 cents.
Did you say Ethereum?
I did say Ethereum. I got Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Hex.
I only asked that because there's been a lot of negative news from people that are working on the Ethereum blockchain, and a lot of infighting within there. People dumping their bags that are working in Ethereum on their customers' heads. Man, I only wish that we had a blockchain similar to Ethereum, less transaction fees, and more decentralized.
Are you talking about?
I wish we could have a genius that could create something this brilliant. Maybe even just fork the Ethereum blockchain and make it decentralized. Could anyone do? Wait. I think actually that's been done. Pulse chain. Is that what I'm thinking?
That's about right, man.
By the way, I want to add one more thing. So Larry Fink not only has done a 180 on crypto, he literally, if you remember earlier this year, said, and I quote, "Crypto is so international, it's going to transcend any one currency in valuation."
Isn't that an interesting word?
It's going to transcend any one currency in valuation because it's so international, it's so easy to use. So, yeah, I think Larry Fink is being honest, but I also think that he wants to pump his own bags. Tell me that BlackRock hasn't been buying crypto for a while during this bear market. Yeah, he wants people to pump their bags, but if he pumps people's bags, I want my bags to be pumped as well. So I think he's correct though. Like when you think about the whole world with the ability to invest into one asset class, that is an opportunity to skyrocket above any one country's currency, even if that's the currency of the world currently.
Who has the balls to do what Saylor said, though?
Michael Saylor.
Him.
Michael
He has
Saylor.
fucking balls. And
Who
he's
is there
too young.
anybody else? Is there anybody else? I want everybody, if you're listening live, if you guys think you have the balls to do what Michael Saylor said to do, sell everything and put it into, well, he said to put it into Bitcoin.
The hardest asset on earth.
Yeah. If you guys think that you have the balls to do that, put a 1 in the chat.
How about this? I'll give you one right now. Maybe I don't have the balls to put everything into Bitcoin, but I've had the balls to put every penny of my life savings into crypto.
There you go. not Bitcoin exclusively, because we're coin agnostic here, but yeah, I'm all in crypto, man. Like,
I mean,
obviously,
outside of my 401k, I have put every penny that was in my savings account, and I can say that that's 6 figures worth of savings into crypto.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I took out a loan for my car as collateral.
Look at that. We got 4 people that are throwing it in the chat. Okay. All right.
Good for you guys.
Yeah. Good for you guys. Yeah. I mean, it takes stones to be able to do that. It takes hella conviction. It takes a unrelenting passion and an unrelenting conviction and belief, exactly, to be able to do that. And there aren't that many people out there that'll do it. You know what I'm saying? There aren't that many people that are going to get through this entire cycle, let alone taking everything that they have out, taking everything that they've earned, every single bit, and putting it into, cryptocurrency. It's not easy to do. It takes a lot of balls. It takes a lot of fortitude. So
It's
Sometimes
definitely not
kidneys.
easy, and I think the people that do something like that, though, they have the ability to see and believe in a vision for the future. It's the folks that actually have the conviction and like genuinely like feel it in their bones that they know where things are going. People can believe in the 4-year cycle. You might just believe in just continually increasing gains over time for this sort of thing, but it depends on where you see it going. I will say this: we will transition to our final article where we have from the Street Crypto, where it says BlackRock and JP Morgan crypto bull run could push the Bitcoin price to 200K. So this is one of the estimates that we're getting from actual news sources out here saying that they believe 200K is the top of the target. In this article in particular, they are talking about how towards the end of 2024, we might see Bitcoin recover the 60,000 mark, and then after that, go parabolic and make a wick up to 200K. Jay, my TA guy, what do you think about this? What are your thoughts?
You're muted, Jay.
My thoughts are that he's
Those
muted.
hotkeys.
Hotkey, got him. Got him.
Got him. All right. While Jay is fixing his muting here, I'm going to go ahead and throw in my little peanut brain 2 cents. And I'm going to say that, like, if JP Morgan is saying that Bitcoin price is going to be going up to 200,000, then we might need to take a look at thinking about an exit strategy somewhere near about 63,000, because like a good general rule of thumb, and this doesn't apply to everything, right, is like the targets that they start printing the numbers publicly. Like when people were saying Bitcoin's going to 300,000 was when it was topping at about 67,000, something like that. So the general rule of thumb that I live by is when people are throwing out numbers, you divide that number by 3. And this is something that your friend Sami talks about. I kind of stole this from him, right? So shout out to your friend Sami, right? Is you divide the number by 3, whatever it is that they're talking about, and you use that as like their actual target. They're putting out a public target, so that way people have confidence, people want to buy, yada yada yada. It's all part of like manipulation and other sort of like soft convincing techniques and things like that. But if this article is putting out like BlackRock saying 200,000, then look at 66,000, right? Look at 66,000, and when it happens, like, pay special attention to the amount of people that are buying and the amount of people that are selling, and like all sorts of things. Like, have that as a little warning sign in your brain. You don't necessarily have to take action, but it's a number that you need to pay attention to. So that's my little 2 cents regarding this art.
I would like to kind of pop in there too. Oh, my bad.
Yeah. I was just I just wanted to pop in real quick. I'm not even looking at price. If you look at the weekly RSI on Bitcoin, once it starts getting to the 75 to 80 range, that's when you can, be comfortable starting to sell. A lot of people can simply just sell off the RSI once they figure out typically where the RSI falls. But Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, well, see, for me, it was all about the actual pricings. There's a lot of sentiment that is bouncing around right now about exactly where price points are going to be landing. Obviously, everyone's going to be going through a lot of different maps and all that to try and figure out, okay, what is the pricing going to end up becoming? Well, if you start kind of like boiling everything down to like, okay, here's where the most popular ones are, and you can then start creating kind of like a tiered system, right? Of like, okay, this is where we want Bitcoin probably to get first, and then you get your lower tier. The lower tier is going to be right around say 89K per Bitcoin. That's going to be kind of your lower tier, and then the one where I think it will probably max out if we go higher than that, I will count it lucky, is going to be 125K. I don't think it's going to get any higher than that. Obviously, they were thinking 1 million Bitcoin, freaking in, what was it, 2020, right? That whole bull run. And then when that wasn't happening, like, oh, it'll definitely hit 100,000. It obviously didn't, right? So I think you want to get underneath the most popular amount. When the most popular is 200K, because after that 125K, you have 150K, and I think there's a possibility of that. but then everybody in the world saying 200, 220, 250K. And that seems to be the most popular range. So I'm going to go lower than that and figure like when everyone's saying 100,000 Bitcoin, I'm going to be like, okay, maybe it's right around 50,000 instead, you know, and it ends up hitting 69 at its peak there, right? So that's just my little take on it, and that has to do with sentiment. But I know, Jay, you've got specific technical chart thingies to look at. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, let me share with you guys my screen here because everybody makes these price targets, and I'm going to give these institutions the benefit of the doubt that they're not just pulling this shit out of thin air. And it seems like they're not pulling it out of thin air because the technicals actually line up on some of these predictions, right? You keep hearing both $100,000 and $200,000 as a potential top for the next bull run. So let me share with you my screen here. This is the Bitcoin on the monthly chart. Can you guys see that?
Yes, my technical value analyst.
Fantastic. Okay, so if you pull a fib retracement, right, from the top of our last bull market, which was the $69,000 high, right, as Richard Hart likes to call it, this the Judas candle, right, because it's a scam candle, and you pull it to our bear market low, you could see that the common extensions, the 1.618 extension, right, is around $100,000, right, and this technical level right here on the Fibonacci is a pretty common extension for price to go to during the bull market. And look over here at the 3618 extension, it's around $200,000. And so these institutions aren't just pulling these numbers out of nowhere. I'm assuming that they've got some technical analysts on their payroll and that they're looking at some of these very simple tools that we use on a daily basis here as technical analysts and thinking, okay, very common extension for the next cycle, $100,000. I would say $100,000 minimum, right? That's a minimum price point that we could reach at the top of this bull market, especially if, let's just say that 1% of all of these asset managers end up coming into crypto. $100,000 Bitcoin isn't unreasonable, right? And also take into consideration, like, look at this. If you take our price tool, right, and take it from the top of our last bull market onto that $200,000 goal, that's only a 3x, right? From highs, from all-time highs. Let's be conservative and let's say, okay, only $100,000. Let's say this pump is going to be a bit muted. This bull cycle is going to be muted, and we only get to $100,000. That's not even a 50% increase from all-time highs. All right, so are these numbers unreasonable? I don't think so. I don't think so. The only thing is you have some people who are taking a very conservative approach to the technicals, right? $100,000 because that 1.618 is a very common extension, right? Especially for an asset as mature as Bitcoin, right? And I think the reason why they're doing that is because it's a mature asset, they're less likely to hit the top of that extension range, right? That 3.618, that 4.618, etc.
And see, here's the other thing too. I'm sorry,
I'm going to jump in here real quick. I was going to say, whenever we do talk about price targets, especially with this channel, we're not trying to like get people like all jazzed up and tell you that that's where we think we're going. We think this is just what's going on in the news. Anything is possible, as Will is famous of saying, it all could go to zero the second BlackRock gets its hands on it, or this could be going to the moon. I did want to highlight a comment by Niles. He had a really good point here. He was saying that the only way for people to buy 70K Bitcoin is if they think that there's going to be another 2 or 3x to go. I think that's an incredible sentiment because when you look back at this last bull run, when we were sitting around like 60,000 BTC heading towards that 69,000 mark, you had Jim Cramer on MSNBC and mainstream news saying that Bitcoin's here forever and it's going to 100K. These price targets might always and inevitably be higher than where it's actually going, just so that you can convince people to keep buying in and get people to buy those tops. But if you're wise and you're savvy and you've been paying attention, you're going to know that especially when the Jim Cramer rule comes into play, when people are saying Bitcoin forever and Bitcoin to the moon, it's probably a good time to start taking some profits.
When Jim Cramer is back on the Bitcoin bandwagon, it might be time to get out.
Yeah. And you know, like
run,
said, guys,
don't walk, run.
Yeah, and like Zenith said, the price targets that we give here, the only reason I spoke about the 100K and 200K, I was trying to give you guys some context to where these news articles might be pulling their numbers from, right? And from a technical standpoint, those numbers make sense. The 100K to 200K, they line up with very common extensions of assets to head into when they're in their bull markets. And so, like, I just wanted to give you guys some context, right? Like I said, one of the things that my mentors always told me was that let the price tell you what it wants to do. And so don't get so focused on it's going to go to 100K and it's going to stop, or it's going to go to 200,000 and then it's going to keep going, right? Because everybody's going to want to jump in after, like Niall said, people are buying $70,000 Bitcoin because everybody's jumping in at that point, right? Let the price tell you what it wants to do. Don't be so focused on one price target, because you're probably going to be wrong. Like, I know it's tough to hear that sometimes, but if people could predict the market with a significant amount of accuracy and precision, you'd have a lot more millionaires, multimillionaires, billionaires, and that's just not the fucking case. Okay, so yeah, no, that's about it.
No, Jay, you're entirely right. There's a reason that the Fibonacci retracement and extension exists, and it's because we see these patterns time and time again, and it's proven in mathematics and also backed up by human psychology and all the historical data to backtrack it. So yeah, these numbers are not pulled out of thin air. If anything, just going off human psychology, we just have that natural bias to like round numbers and things that end with like 1, 10s or 5s or even 2s sometimes. And it's like, it's super easy to try to get latched onto these things and not read the signs and actually see what's going on. So that's really where it comes down to, which is you got to pull your ego out, pull your emotion out, and pull your own desire that you're trying to impart on the chart and actually read what's going on there. But this shouldn't be anything new to people that have been around this for a hot minute, is that we're trying to remove ego and emotion from everything we do, whether it's looking at the chart and putting numbers on there and doing the astrology for men, as some people call it, or you're actually making the decisions to DCA in or DCA out. Remove the ego, remove the emotion.
The one thing I just kind of wanted to add was when you're like, I find that very interesting, Jay, when you're putting the Fibonacci sequence on there. When you're putting the indicators on there, because that's something that I've never seen, and I think that's very interesting. The thing that I'm looking at more so is how much capital is expected to be coming in, at a certain amount of time, and then when is that capital most likely going to be exiting? And when you look at how much capital is more than likely going to be, pouring into the crypto space, right? You tend to get these numbers, based on its liquidity. If anyone can remember exactly what I believe it was a trifecta, but that's based on the amount of money coming in. Basically, more money coming in means price goes higher, right? However, when you're looking at that, everybody has been doing all the crazy math and everything, and they're hitting these numbers, which just happens to line up with the indicators. It always blows my mind whenever you do that type of thing.
Well, I mean, Zenith mentioned it earlier, right? The Fibonacci sequences can be tied into not just mathematics, but you could find it out in nature, and you can find it in human psychology, right? And how we behave. Like, just think about it. What does $100,000 and $200,000 sound like to you, right? That sounds like psychological levels of support and resistance. So is it so far-fetched to assume that once we hit 200,000, we're going to hit some kind of resistance? All right, or that once we punch through that ceiling, that all bets are off, that you could go to 150, 200,000? So not at all, right? So all of this ties into human nature in general, right? Which is why we like using it, right? If you can mathematically lay out human emotion, human psychology, human behavior, that just makes it easier for us, man, because it makes it predictable to a degree.
For sure. So, I guess I'll do a little bit of breakdown on how I do my personal TA, which is that the base of everything is support and resistance. Support and resistance is fantastic because it's based on actual real orders that people are putting in real time. And it's based on past price, which makes the new resistances or supports depending on where you're at. Now, once you start getting into all-time highs and going into price discovery, where you start going into that uncharted territory, that's where the Fibonacci kicks in my personal opinion, which is that you start to realize your extension of where you've been, because you're in uncharted territory. There's no resistance. You're just heading up until you run out of gas effectively. When are you going to run out of gas? Pretty much on one of these golden ratios, so to speak. Like Jay was saying, Fibonacci it sounds very highfalutin and very like, I don't know, mystic almost, but it's just basic mathematical principles. You can find it everywhere, from the shape of curling spirals to even light in some cases. And then just, again, in price. You can find it in charts in the past. It's there. You just got to see it. Gentlemen, any thoughts? No mathematicians?
Well, it was a great show. I think we had a lot of great things to say here. Join our Telegram.
Look, I'll say that right now is the hardest time to buy crypto, because we've been in one of the longest and most difficult bear markets that we have seen. Well, first of all, probably in the history of crypto, but just in the history of assets, it's been a very rough and difficult bear market for people to endure. I know people that have been in crypto for a while, and they are starting to lose their mind. They are starting to think that they need to sell off their assets because they don't think it's going anywhere. We have continued, and I will say this again, to see good news in crypto, winning versus the SEC left and right, okay? Pumping of the bags of coins that have been sued by the SEC. And there's so much good news. These institutions know it, of course, right? So if they're saying 200K, then, maybe you need to reel in your expectations, because you don't want to believe everything they're going to say, because they're just going to end up dumping on your heads. But Zenith made a good point, right? We don't want to make price predictions, and we're only saying these prices because that's what the numbers are saying. We're not making wild assertions of, hey, Bitcoin's going to be 100,000 in 2 months, right? Or Ethereum's going to be 5K in 2 months. No, we're talking about historical numbers and potential future opportunities. Does that mean it's going to happen? No, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen. But there's a good opportunity that crypto is ready to go very high, very quickly. I think we talked about it earlier, and I didn't get a chance to weigh in on it, but the fake Bitcoin Ethereum, Bitcoin spot ETF pump, that's just market sentiment. That's just showing you that the market is ready. It's building, and it's just ready for a little bit of good news to pump to an insane level. Now, I'm only saying a little bit of hopium. Obviously, every coin is not going to make it. Most coins go to zero, and so you have to do your research. You have to understand what you're investing in. But I think that for me this week and the last few weeks have given me some of the most inspired excitement in crypto that I have seen in 2 years. And that is something that's very exciting. I mean, yesterday, EHEX, people wrote EHEX off. Every Ethereum chat, every Hex chat in Pulse Chain chat I'm in, everyone's like, no, I sold all of my EHEX and I put it all into PHEX because EHEX is going to zero. If EHEX goes to zero, everything's going to zero because they can't trust Richard Hart. I personally was sitting on a whole ton of EHEX, and I know a few other people that I know were as well, just waiting to get close to parity. And finally that happened close to parity last night. We made really good gains. So even in a bear market, if you pay attention, if you listen to the people that you trust, but not that you follow what they say, but that you learn to do your own research and make your own decisions, then you might just go against the grain and be able to make some money at times that a lot of people aren't. So don't believe everything you hear in crypto. In fact, believe a very small percentage of it. And I think these institutions are going to be a big help, but they're also going to be hindrance at time because they're going to want to dump on your head. So understand that there's good and bad in everything, and that you need to find your way individually, and you can't rely on somebody else to take you there.
Absolutely, Brendan. This week has been absolutely phenomenal for Hexicans and Pulsicans alike. euphoric is honestly the best word for it. Just watching the price go up and do a 200x when everything else is just sitting stagnant or going down right now, it's been absolutely phenomenal. If you have been paying attention, or if you're in our Telegram chat, which, by the way, you can join if you go click on the link down in the description, we talk about all this. Yesterday, Jay went on what was effectively like a 1-hour chat talking about different prices, talking about TA, talking about the importance of having the trifecta of the Richard Hart ecosystem, having the eHex, the PHEX, the Pulse, and the PulseX. It's all going to have its time in the sun. In the sun. And this week has been eHex's time to shine. Now, the only question from here is which of the tokens is going to be going up next. So that's what we're talking about. If you want to learn more about it, you can, again, join the Telegram. That's where you can find all of us and all of our fantastic people. I can tell you right now, looking at a ton of the people in our live chat, those are the folks that are hitting up the Telegram, sharing some of their thoughts in there as well. And it's honestly just a great time. And if you even want, you can go find Excel sheets that I make and tell me how terrible I do it. But with that said, we are going to be rolling into the wrap up here. So upcoming, we have a Wild SJ as our big guest on Wednesday. After that, we actually have another book club coming up on Friday. Moonpilled Rational Optics mentioned this book earlier. We are going to be doing The Richest Man in Babylon. This is a very short read, nice big spacing, perfect for me. I will say this one is great on audiobook. It's got a little bit of old English on it, but the financial lessons inside of here are perfect for everybody looking to just get a foundation going or understand where they can optimize or improve on what they got going on. So you can catch us on book club on Friday, and you can catch us for our guest stream with a Wild SJ on Wednesday. And then, of course, we're going to be back here next Sunday, same time, to be talking about all the news going on and see if this eHex pump keeps going. With that said, I'm going to send it over to my lovely co-host and a handsome man, Jay. Jay, where can people find you?
Yeah, so as always, thank you everybody for spending a little bit of your time with us here on your Sunday evenings. You could have been anywhere else, but you're here with us. And we know that time is your most valuable asset, so we do appreciate that you spend a little bit of that time here with us today. As always, you can find me on Instagram at agent_J_Schroth, on Twitter or X at _P90Hex, and you can find me on that Telegram chat. So join in, like Zenith said. Whenever things are going left, right, or well, or bad, or whatever, we are always jumping in there, doing a live stream, an emergency meeting in order to keep our guys and gals on top of the game. So if you don't want to miss out on the alpha, make sure you join the Telegram chat. It is completely free to join. We have a lot of helpful guys and gals there to answer your questions. If you're it doesn't matter if you're new, if you're an expert in crypto, go join the community, because it's fantastic to be part of a group that's like-minded and they can help you help you reach your financial goals, basically. That's it for me. Look forward to our stream with SJ on Wednesday, talking about the bus life, Richard Hart, Paul Shane, and why it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. That's going to be a lot of fun. She's a really cool gal. And so please look forward to that. I will be hosting her. So make sure you guys stop by Wednesday evening, same time, same place. I will go ahead and toss it over to Brendan.
Will you be hosting her in your living room since she's on the bus route? Just a question.
I don't think SJ is going to be here in Arizona. I think they're still in Texas, but I think RG and her are going to be here in Arizona sometime near the end of the year. So depending on the time, I'll probably go to one of their meetups. But no, it'll be a remote hosting.
No, that'd be sick. Look, I just want to thank everyone that's joined this show. I really enjoy spending my Sunday nights with all of you, my friends on stream, and also our guests and our friends in the chat. So this show wouldn't be possible without people watching, liking, subscribing. Our Telegram, like Jay said, has an incredible amount of alpha. As Bitcoin pumps, as Bitcoin then crashes back down, Jay hops on screen, shows the TA, lets you know what's going on in real time, and it's free, right? We're not charging you for these services. We're saying, hey, join our community and learn to be self-sufficient. We're going to give you some alpha, but you have to figure out what you want to do with your life and how you want to do it. You're grown men, you're grown women. You have to make your own decisions. You have to hit the buy and sell buttons, but we will give you our opinions and we will give you our excitement or our worries all at the same time. So for me, I'm very excited. I'm unfortunately not going to be here next Sunday because I will be in the great country of Colombia. I hear it's a great country. Excited about that. But I will see you guys this Wednesday, and I'm very, very excited about everything that's going on in a couple of weeks. Josh and I will be speaking at the Cardano conference. Will be there. Antoine, one of our community members, will be there. And it's very unique that we are asked to talk at a crypto conference in a bear market. So if there's interest already in the bear market, wait till the bull market hits, man. Everything is building below the surface. So you better be ready for it, because it is going to be parabolic, and it's going to be exciting. Now, I didn't say parabolic to the positive or to the negative, but one way or the other, it's going to be parabolic. Josh, your Ravens did well today. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Hey, listen, Zenith, great fucking job hosting tonight, dude. Phenomenal job. Jay, great job co-hosting as always. Panel, you guys did phenomenal. Everyone in the chat, make sure you're showing love to Zenith. Make sure you're showing love to Jay. Make sure you guys show love to the panel. They take time out of their evening. They could easily be watching NBC right now, watching Sunday Night Football, but they're here because they care. They're here because they like to engage in the conversation, and it's an awesome thing that everybody's doing. And just make sure you're showing them the love. Absolutely, make sure you're showing them the love. Definitely excited about what we got coming up. SJ on Wednesday, it's going to be awesome. Jay, I know you're going to crush it. I'm excited about that. It's going to be phenomenal. And then we got Sunday's stream. That's going to be awesome too. Looking forward to Cardano, man. The Cardano Summit down in Miami. That's going to be a great time. Brendan, I know you're putting in a ton of work, dude, and can't thank you enough. You're going to represent our community in this channel so well. And, having Antoine down there, it's going to be awesome. Having Will down there, of course, it's going to be awesome. And hopefully Chronic can meet up with us while we're down there also. So, but yeah, we got some great stuff coming around the corner. But please, just like Brendan said, I want to pivot off of. I'm not even going to pivot. I just want to add to a little bit of what Brendan was talking about. We're still in a bear market right now. We're not even in a full-fledged bull run right now. So the people that are in our community right now, we got Niles, we got Moonpill, we got Giggles, we got Chronic, we got, all these people that are here showing up. You guys are going to be the leaders. You guys are going to be the mentors once the new people start coming in the next year or two. All right. So everybody in the chat right now, if you guys are here with us, we're going to be leaning on you guys to help sort of mentor the new folks that are going to be coming up around the corner. That's just how it works. So we're expecting you guys to put in the same amount of work that we're doing as well. And we're going to be here doing it. You know what I'm saying? Jay's doing it as often as he can in the channel. Dace, when he can, he's got stuff going on, and everybody's putting in a lot of work. So definitely great job, guys. Thank you so much. Will, I'm going to kick it over to you, man. Close it, not close it out, send it back to Zenith, of course. But what do you got coming around the corner, and what are you looking forward to?
Oh, I think we can't be forgetting Nate here as well. But the things.
Nate, of course. My bad.
yeah. Well, don't worry, Nate. I got you, bud. Even if Josh is gonna leave us high and dry here. No, I'm just playing. The things I got going on. I'm still in St. Louis for the time being. Like Brennan was saying earlier, and like Josh said as well, I'm going to be down in Miami for the Cardano Summit, along with Antoine and Chronic. As I'm pretty sure. Shit, forgive me, whoever it is, if I've forgotten you. But I'm going to be down there in Miami for the Cardano Summit, and I'm just going to be sitting there looking pretty. I don't know a damn thing about Cardano, so I'll just be holding the pom-poms and cheering our team on and hanging out, shaking hands, drinking cigars, and smoking whiskey, the whole 9 yards. So let's see here. The things I got going on: chilling out in St. Louis, going to Miami. Shortly after that, I'll be going down to Dallas for a very short event, but then coming back up to St. Louis. So if there's anyone in that general area, hit me up on Telegram or on Instagram. You can find me at the links down below in the description, or will.stevenson.iii. That's the easiest way to hit me up. that's all I got going on, other than just working on Rule Zero archive website for a totally different podcast, totally different thing. Nate, what you got going on, man?
Hey man, so yeah, we're Tracker and I were putting together the Earn protocol deep dive. It's going to be kind of the same thing as we did with the liquid loans, right? That's going to be coming out the next couple of weeks. Again, Tracker is amazing at putting together these just very well organized things. He takes all that information. He's really able to put them well together. Then the presentation. Excuse me, I was forgetting the name of it for a quick second there. But yes, so we're going to be doing that here in the next couple of weeks. We've got all of our stuff put together. We just got to get it organized and everything thrown together. We will actually be having Just Ask Jesse, who is the creator, founder of Power City, or one of them at least. And yeah, he's going to be talking with us, right? We're going to be talking with him over exactly what Earn protocol is. We're not 100% sure if we're going to be adding an amplifier protocol as well, which actually goes hand in hand with liquid loans and Earn. So we may not. That might be a separate video. But again, hey, if you like the liquid loans one, you're going to love this one. Look for it in the next couple of weeks. We're going to try and get it out quickly here because, quite frankly, everything's starting to launch here, guys. A part of the RH ecosystem, pumping, is going to be that these larger protocols that we've been waiting to launch is finally launching now. All right. And when that happens, things are going to go parabolic. All right. So, hey, guys, we got some fun stuff happening. Get ready. All right. Zenith, back to you.
Thank you very much, gang. Yes, we have one final shout out. A huge thank you to our production team headed up by Mrs. McGettit. She does everything behind the scenes, all these beautiful transitions, headlines, banners, thumbnails, all of it. Plus, she's a book club OG, so that's pretty cool too. Anyways, I am Zenith. You can find me at Hex Space Force on Twitter or Hexago Space Force on Instagram and YouTube. We are going to be back very soon, so we will catch you on Wednesday and Friday and Sunday. So until then, we say it a lot, but genuinely, thank you so much for spending time with us. We greatly appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you very much.